What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Voice, and you're here for another episode of the Facts Project. Today, very special guest. God damn it hasn't been a project that he's done that I haven't even covered. So thank you for being here once again, Anthony Stokes. We're here to talk about Prescription Paradise. Thank you.
Bro, thanks for having me. I mean, I don't know. I lost count. Like, what's like the 10th one, the 11th one?
Bro,
it's been a lot.
If we're talking about like three decays, maybe what, 2 intrusive thoughts. We got there's a lot.
Didn't Charlie come on here for American Yakuza too?
Yeah, Charlie came on here for American Yakuza.
Yeah.
So I caught it. So I caught it. I mean, it's y'all baby, it's his proprietor, but
yeah,
is what it is. But
hell yeah.
to get into this particular story,
yeah,
it's a bring me back again type series for me, because I had the privilege of covering the Decay series that you did, which was your first baby that basically got brought along. And if anybody needs any sort of connection into how to read this comic and the context of it, I'm glad that you put the Decay series in the tiers, because if you don't have that, if you're not getting that tier with the add-alongs for Decay, I'm not going to say that the story is not going to bode you any other way, but
yeah,
this is an expanded universe at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So the actual book itself will have like a recap, pages and stuff like that, so you can follow along. But yeah, the best experience is to read number 1 through 5, and then read this one.
Yeah, and for anybody that hadn't read Decay, it's the revenge tale, revolving around characters by the name of Decay and Marcus, and their ultimate demise, and yet being brought back with the help of the culture of Voodoo. Of course,
Yes,
setting in the of course in the Deep South in New Orleans. And I like the way this one's played out, because not only do we get the sequence of what is happening in current events in the same town, same New Orleans, but yet we even take it back a little bit farther with a couple new characters with Andre and Dave. But yeah, we even go back to Hurricane Katrina. Now,
yeah,
so I was digging the hell out of that, because I was like, damn, I was like, we are really like trolling the landscape. We're going back a ways to where a lot of these people met for the first time, and the grind that basically they got on. So if you could dive into that for me, why you felt like you wanted to add a little bit more to the story of Decay.
I think I had an idea. I had the idea for a sequel,
Mm-hmm.
and then I realized there was an opportunity to tell like a new story that kind of comments on the original, but is also a satisfying narrative on its own. And I don't know where. Well, I do know. It was Decay was basically written during the pandemic.
Okay.
And then Prescription Paradise was written during the opioid epidemic. So it felt like a good pivot, still keeping the flavor of the original.
Right. And you seeing like basically the character of Andre, who unfortunately passes away by taking a bad hit off of some fentanyl. And it's funny the way you played it out. I don't know what you did when you talked to the artist, but the way when he got brought back to life for the very first time, of course he had his shirt off, but the first shirt that he puts on is "Say No to Drugs" shirt.
Yeah.
So I was like, I like it when y'all writers be talking to y'all artists about certain aspects of the medium that you're gonna put in the comic, because my man just died of a drug overdose and he got to say no to drugs shirt. The first thing that happens when he pops back up. So I just wanted to point that out there. But ultimately, it's another revenge tale. So the character of Andre dying sets off a chain of events that basically revolve not only around the people that sold him the shit, but yet even the police that happen to be around in New Orleans as well. And he doesn't even get the chance to come back without a little bit of help.
Exactly, exactly. So then we get the plot device from the first issue, which is you take a crystal, you make a blood sacrifice, and the person comes back. And in the case of at least in these two examples we've seen, they've gotten revenge in a very gritty way. And a big thing for me was kind of like go using the theme. I think one kind of expanding on the idea of like being a reanimated corpse and what that would allow you to do, but also using the theme of like drugs and substance abuse to convey some things as well.
Right, right. It almost reminds me what it was this like old 1980s movie called The Wraith about a kid
Mm.
who died in a drag race. And then all of a sudden, anybody who was involved in that drag race had to race this ghost like car that kept on showing up to the races, and they all ended up dying one by one. So that's kind of like the pivot that I saw. Of course, this of course is a little bit broader of horizon because even through that context, like we're talking about, uh, the characters are even bringing up characters from Decay when they're talking about,
Yes,
did you know DK? And he was like, no, but I knew his sister.
yes,
So
yeah,
the need to put that in there was definitely something that you wanted to do.
yeah. It's expanding on the themes of the first one. So something that had, I guess, like a profound effect on me as I guess as an adult really is Lion King 1.5.
Hmm.
And for those that don't
One and a
know,
half.
Lion King 1.5,
No, I remember it.
it was a spinoff. Well, it was a sequel that functioned as a prequel, and it happened concurrently with the first movie and slightly after the first movie as well. So I always liked playing with that idea and that structure of like weaving in and out of a main story and kind of retroactively. You also can retroactively make the original story better and reinforce the themes there as well.
Mm. And then now the other need of basically expanding it even further to like basically almost an origin story of how like a couple of the characters ultimately grew a connection by being on the rooftops of New Orleans during Hurricane Katrina. What made you what went through your mind basically like wanting to put that in the series?
The point for me was kind of the tragedy begets tragedy. So we in the first issue, it's remarked on that they experienced Hurricane Katrina and their parents passed away.
Hmm.
They say they died from a whole lot of water, and then so showing that moment and kind of one, I think it was cool to kind of portray that tragedy. And also, somebody told me it's called a triage.
Mm.
And I have the book around here somewhere. Oh my God. What is it? I'm looking at the book right now. Um, but basically, a triage is a situation where you have to pick who lives and dies.
Ah.
Like, so if you're in New Orleans, you only have so many hospitals, you only have so many hospital beds, you only have so much room on the helicopter. So they had to pick and choose who lived and who didn't.
Mm.
And my friend told me about that. I was like, damn, that's really that's really powerful. It's really it's terrifying. Um, and yeah, that was it.
Damn. Now, throughout this the entire series of Decay, and even in this specific story itself, although we went through this elaborate story of revolving around a lot of these characters, we knew that the the pivot that started to happen all revolved around voodoo. Now, did you ever feel like you wanted to expand on, maybe where the voodoo where basically they started practicing it, like where basically DK's sister when she started practicing and everything like that, in order to get the jewels to do this in the long run?
Well, so she already knew how to do it from the start, and it's
Hmm.
implied that she knew something. It's implied that she kind of was aware of something like this beforehand. Um, and then I don't really want to expand. It's about voodoo and like in a broad sense, in
Mhm.
that it's a religion, you know. So if I were to bastardize Christianity, or like Islam, I feel like that would be bad, you know.
Right, right.
So
It'd be like
you're
sacrilegious.
sacrilegious, yeah. So it's kind of just, it was very important to make it look Western. Interpretations of voodoo, it's often like dirty and like grimy and really off-putting, but I wanted to, to be, beautiful in a sense, like explore like the tranquility of it, because
Mhm.
it's a, it's a religion.
Right. Now when you basically like started putting this together, because for one, I mean, as much as I love Tap or Die, I do like the way that you start like revolving the story around crime. Like basically
Yeah,
a pivotal plot point revolving around either a murder or something that direly happened, and then basically building the story around that almost that climactic moment. Why is that?
yes. Well, I think I mean, it's an deciding incident and it's really easy. I also like to keep the plot pretty simple. Like if you look at the plot here, it's very simple.
Hmm?
There's an A plot and a B plot, and they converge very obviously. So really focusing on the event and the direct fall off just keeps the fallout keeps things really tight and really specific.
Mm. Now, when you're basically taking a focus on that, because you've had many characters to where they're not necessarily one dimensional. You've done this with American Yakuza, you've done this with Tapper Die, you've done this with this. You've taken the opportunity to center mostly your main characters in a broad sense of mind all have a, I'm going to say, a rigid personality,
Yeah.
and nobody is calm by nature. And why did you choose the characters in which you've had?
Um, so they all kind of represent different things a lot of ways. Domino, the most obvious one I mentioned, is kind of like how I feel about the industry that I'm in.
Yep.
I feel like it's really antiquated. I feel like there's a lot of stale ideas. I feel like there's a lot of gatekeeping, and etc. Decay and Jessica is really about living for another person and dealing with grief. Um, you know, uh, damn, I get Tom. What's his name? Tommy in the Intrusive Thoughts. Tyler in the Intrusive Thoughts is
Tyler.
about dealing with like so many serious
Mhm.
anxiety, depression. So it's all, and I guess for Prescription Paradise. Um, we all have, I guess, subconsciously, like the brother and sister dynamic in Decay is very nourishing. It's very honest, and then it kind of goes bad.
Yeah, because you come to
But
realize that DK's sister is also very naive as to what she's doing.
oh yeah, she's naive and then she makes mistakes too. But this is kind of like that cousin that you love, but isn't always up to good. He's one of your dad. This is cousin on your dad's side.
Mhm.
And Andre knowingly and unknowingly, or maybe he doesn't even care, kind of wraps up his cousin Dexter, who's a good guy. He's just a dude that's just trying to do the right thing.
Right. And the thing
Yeah,
is, I'm looking at this character in Dexter, like almost like, even though, he's not who he works for. Um, he ultimately just wants to do good in this world, and he ultimately has a moment where he gets caught up,
yeah, yeah,
even though he feels like he's doing the right thing,
yeah,
and then ultimately that leads to his demise.
yep,
But and that's the spin on things. Like, even though you're the result of you trying to do good in the world might just end up with you no longer being here on Earth. Like
yeah. No, 100%. I
good
mean,
or
that,
bad
that's the
decisions.
yeah, and that, I mean, he makes it's kind of the same as Jess. It's like he makes like what he would assume would be the good decision, but he doesn't really know who his cousin is,
Oh man,
and
see,
that's the thing of like, oh, the crystal, like it brings it back. It's kind of like a pet cemetery thing, but it kind of shows that like no, like these people they had issues, beforehand,
mhm,
you know, and the cycle of violence continues.
right. And Andre basically, I mean, the what took Decay 3 episodes to get through with DK, it felt like Andre took just that one singular episode. He found everything out already from jump.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's like the inverse of Trey
Hmm.
in a way, where you think he's bad, he ends up good, and this guy, like, you think he's good, and he ends up, terrible. Arguably the worst character in the series, morale wise.
Hmm. Yeah, because like if we're looking at it from like Trey, like there was like opportunities where he escaped, like what he might have like just shook everybody, maybe like one whole issue, and there was no way to basically like catch on to what exactly what he was doing. But then when we're looking at a character like Andre, he he already made the threats once he got brought back to life. He pretty much interrogated his way into finding out everybody that was basically involved, but more so it was like how quick can I get it done, and the best way I could get this done is just going to a party and knocking out the rest of the squad. But outside of that, it seemed like the death of all the patrons at the party started to have almost a counteraction that was pretty much happening there. They almost looked like zombies on paper.
Well, yeah, that's what it does. It's a reanimated corpse.
Mm,
So once you kill enough people, the people start to come back
that's
that you killed.
so.
So yeah,
Yeah, so when I'm like looking at this, like almost from that just that last page, I'm like, wait, like if this was to basically go any further, there would be more of them out there.
yeah. Andre's killing anybody and everybody that he thinks is in the way. Maybe not his cousin. Probably not his cousin. I don't think he realized. Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter. He doesn't really care. I guess that's the point.
Right, right.
Like he just don't care. He wants to get revenge, and he got revenge. I mean, he got he
This is true.
and funny enough, Bird is one of the only characters in the series that survives.
He is.
Um,
Because damn, everybody in Decay just went away. So it's
yeah,
like,
he's the only named character that survives, and then like it's like the worst. Arguably, he's the worst off.
oh my God. But even outside of that, to told this around because you said that basically you got the idea to write this series from the opioid epidemic. Was there any type of series of events that maybe happened in real time that basically maybe it was just current events that were happening there, or was it something like that was basically personal that you had seen that basically brought forth the opportunity to put this book together?
My I think we all understand. We all know somebody that's affected by opioid use.
Hmm.
To some degree, and the idea really came from my friend. We call it a trap house, but basically it's just a house where you just go to like chill party, like it's like 20 something, early 30 something, like you just go there, hang out, chill and stuff. Of course there's
Hmm.
drugs, and then one of the people there just had a baggie of fentanyl just sitting on the counter.
Just cause.
Just yeah, and the owner of the house is like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And that kind of, and there's another example of, like, I think this is probably the most, that was the one thing of, like, how did that happen? Like, that
Mhm.
I think that really underscores an epidemic. And then it was another situation I heard of where um the like a group of people, like, were doing drugs in the basement, and a mom comes home, and like a bunch of them had overdosed, and she
Wow.
had to pick who to resuscitate. And I
Triage.
think those two, that conversation, I think it was the same day. I think the conversation was the same day. So, like, that conversation, now that I'm thinking about it, was the most informative kind of the process of, like, okay, yeah, like, definitely need to make a story about this.
Mm. So when we're bringing up, if I'm remembering, of course, from the first couple of projects, when we're talking about just basically decay and intrusive thoughts, and even with this one, basically the stories that you're basically bringing out are all similar in connotation. You know, it's just like the broader sense of the settings are definitely real life that are happening. Like anything that you basically brought to mind, as far as like those three and how they revolve around psyche, they revolve around revenge, they revolve around behavior issues, and they revolve around substance abuse. So
Yeah.
like that, I feel like each of those individual topics kind of work hand in glove.
Yeah, I think like when you get to yeah, I mean, even It's Gonna Kill People, which I think is like the most out there, I think it still deals. I think for me it works
But even that,
because
'cause
of
that deals with
the
bad parenting.
yeah, exactly. That's the one where I feel that um the seriousness of it, like we don't, the drama is almost more compelling because of it's interspersed between like funny moments or
Mhm.
comedy. So yeah, no, 100%. It's always trying to talk about real stuff. And I think we're going to get away from that at some point just cuz, it's a great approach and I enjoy it, but you got to write about some other stuff at some point, but it has been really enjoyable. But yeah, I'd like to get into the I think Chris told like you I like to get into the philosophy, the psychology of the character,
Mhm.
and like trying to figure out, okay, all right, well, what makes this person tick? Like what do they want? And when you go from there, you can really do some really interesting character stuff.
Right.
Like I want my character work to be the best. I kind of want that to be the thing that stands out in that. Yeah, all the character arcs into a either a knife twist to a conclusion that you know is coming, or just takes you into a new direction that you wouldn't have thought. You
Mhm.
know, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it. That's probably one of my favorite parts. It's like coming up with a character arc that is different and inventive and really leans to that. I think the best example is probably Xavier in American Yakuza, where
Yeah.
the entire plot and setting is probably the most in sync with the character's philosophy.
Mhm.
Um, which is good. That's why I love that book.
Yeah, because if you're looking at it from that, like Xavier is kind of like looking at it like I'm going to Japan to resolve an issue. And then all of a sudden it's like almost I get surrounded by the issue itself and
Yeah, yeah,
consumed by it.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's also about being kind of feeling like an outsider, kind of feeling out of place. So yeah, no, there's some familiar themes, and no, I'm really proud of my catalog as far as storytelling. I'm really proud of the book and the way it came out. I think it's this is a book I'd really want to read. Like if I read this book, I would
That's the way I
be
felt about it.
impressed.
And
Yeah,
mainly because I read Decay. I was like,
yeah,
it made me basically go back and have a more expanded thought process into the almost just like the mind sweep of like how this was basically brought to a head. But even though you like to play with the psychosis of characters, you touched on something just recently, what you just said. They're like, what if you didn't do that? What would you do?
what if I didn't do what?
So what if you didn't like basically touch in the real life characters and and the psychology of those characters? Would you do like kaijus or something like that? Like what would you do?
I think I would. I That's just what I find interesting. Like truthfully,
That's like stepping out of
um,
your box.
but kaiju, I could still have a story that is still very much based in a character's philosophy. Like it can still be very character driven.
Hmm.
I can't think of any. I mean, well, no, Godzilla minus one
Yeah, Godzilla
was
minus
like
one,
that.
kaiju number eight. Even though kaiju
Kaiju number
number
eight.
eight is just
I'm
like,
sure one of them damn King Kong movies. I'm sure one of the new Godzilla movies had something like that too.
of course,
So yeah, I think like here's what I think. I think a premise. I look at a premise, or I look at it to the characters. I'm like, okay, the soul or what makes me invested is like the character work,
right.
and through the character work, you get the good dialogue, and then you get the good iconic moments, you get the artwork and stuff like that. But I think it all builds off of having interesting characters, and you can really do that with any genre, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
That's probably why
yeah,
IPs were created basically off of anything.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. You can get really creative, and I think a lot of times you see like where you can kind of tell where a character's going. Like I said, you either need to twist the knife or you need to go take it in a very drastically different direction.
Hmm.
Otherwise, what are we doing? Um, and my mentor Richard Fairgray really really kind of I think tuned my character work in trying to find like really interesting ways for things to play out, you know. And also I think what I like to do is the character gets what they want, but not really. I think that's a great trope of like a happy ending, quote unquote, or I mean that's the structure of television. Is you
Yeah,
get something and it's not what you thought, but kind of giving them a happy ending with that within the kind of a melancholy ending. If you think about like Decay, this doesn't apply. This is 110%
mhm.
melancholy, but yeah. So there's a lot of different ways and to go about it, of course.
Yeah, because I mean, shoot, if we're talking about the elaboration of like cable TV or streaming series and everything like that, it's almost like uh give give like a certain goal that a person's supposed to have and try to keep it as far away from them as possible. Let them get as close as they can get to and then pull it away from them again. Matter of fact, let him have it in his hands for about 10 seconds. Pull it away again.
Yeah, I've been playing Elden Ring, and I was telling my friend, like I was like talking to Chris, the the you want it's a carrot and a stick routine where
Yeah.
it's like you want it to be just out without your grasp, and in the process of chasing, you're learning new things and then new obstacles are presented in front of you as well. So obviously like referencing different stuff, but that's just how I see story. I look at like different approaches and stuff. Like, okay, how do you apply this or apply that to different medium or different genre or whatever, what have you?
Mm. So what's next on the plate, brother? Because I know American Yakuza 2 is already about to drop again.
Yeah, American Kuzu 2 is coming out in 2 weeks. Extras Club number 2 is coming out.
Hmm.
With Chris Moses, my guy, and then I got a sci-fi book coming out next. My first sci-fi book.
Oh, so look,
Uh,
Chris gets rid of his, you jump on board.
oh yeah, no. Yeah, that is funny. It's funny. It's also took me this long to do a
True.
sci-fi book. Like, damn. But yeah, that's it. Me and Charlie are actually working on a superhero book too.
Charlie McKelvey.
Um, yeah, Charlie McGill, me and Charlie are working on a superhero book as well. So, staying busy as always.
Now that's something because since all the stories that basically we've talked about over the past few years, we never really jumped into capes and cows.
It's tricky because you don't see a lot of superhero books say on Kickstarter, which is not the end all be all of releasing a comic book at all. But
Yeah,
it is a big it's a big it's a big thing, it's
yeah.
not small.
No, it's not
I
small.
you don't see them blow up really, and I think it's because one, the art is not going to be as good at your peak superhero book, probably even your tier two superhero book is going to look better than anything an indie creator can really put together, just as a matter of resources,
Right.
iconography. Like you think about it, how easy is it to draw Superman looking cool just because of the iconography? Now I got to replace. Well, and that's the second thing is how do I make iconography for a superhero? Because in order, it's a catch 22 because in order for a superhero to look iconic, I have to draw them as iconic.
Hmm.
But because they're not iconic, those images aren't going to resonate as well with the audience. And I also think that people go to indie comics to get away from capes,
Uh,
um, you,
true.
which I think is fair. It's because again, it's the likelihood of it being better than just as a sheer resources, And then if it does look as good as a Marvel book, it's not coming out as fast,
Right.
you know. And Rise Number One by my friend Trevor is a really, I think he solved a lot of these problems because it's a great looking book.
Mhm.
It's got a fresh take, and he's got some great cover composition. So I think you have to people don't like, I find, when you say x and or y is hard, but what you mean is that x and y anything you do has inherent drawbacks, right?
Right.
And it's like when you account for the drawbacks, then you can not overcompensate, but you can do your thing. So I say all that to say that, yeah, me it have to be a really interesting take for me to tell a superhero story. Um, I mean, it had to be an interesting take for me to tell anything, really.
It
In my opinion. Well, yeah, no, I can say
I would
that.
think that you
That's pretty much it.
choose your stories wisely.
100%, 100%. I got, yeah, exactly. So, yeah, man, that's on the way as well. So, I think I'm looking at my release schedule right now. Well, I think we have two more Extras Club coming out, another Tap or Die, a couple
All,
more,
all within
two
this
number
year?
ones within this year. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, yeah. So, man, we're staying busy for sure. Or I want to ask, like, what was your favorite parts of like Prescription Paradise? Like, I'm curious.
To be honest, I
Yeah,
didn't expect Dexter to go out the way that he did. So that
yeah,
ending kind of hit me a little bit because if it, I ultimately I know that nobody's safe in your books, especially in
yeah.
the Decay series. Nobody was safe.
No, yeah,
So when I'm looking at this specific book, I was like, I empathize with Dexter. I did.
yeah,
I did. I was like,
yeah,
fuck, man. I was like, this is like, yo, to be honest, like, you have that feeling in your gut, dude. Like, yo, he seemed like a real good dude.
yeah, yeah. Also, the injury was telegraphed.
Mm.
There's a motif. There's a motif with injuries, specific kind of body part, but I think my favorite part
I like
is the
Gary's death was fucking cool as shit too. He was like,
yeah,
how does he
yeah.
like his coffee?
Yeah, yeah, no, that was definitely cool, and then you can kind of see like the coffee cup kind of spin around and
Mm-hmm.
smile. I think it's like a Watchmen reference,
Yep.
sort of. My favorite was the roulette, um, where he has the two, and he pulls it out of his stomach,
Mm.
which I was really excited about. Like, I definitely think the I wanted this book to feel like picking up a wet ashtray, and I think he did it. I think that scene did it.
Right, bro. Well, look. If it is what it is, I think you did it again, man. Because to be
Hell
honest,
yeah,
like
bro.
because of the fact that I read that story where I felt like, damn, the expansion of like a specific storyline that I've read over and over again, I had to go back to. That's always a good thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like especially in comics. Like if and the thing is, I kind of saw that early on. I remember you were putting out like the cover art for Paradise, and there was that skull with the fucking gold grill that said Decay on it, and I was like, well,
yeah,
where could he be going with that? And then
yeah.
as I'm reading it, I'm like, okay, now I get it. I gotta go back. I gotta read this again because everything was already As soon as I saw the crystal, it was like the third, fourth page.
Hmm.
I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
yep. Well,
Uh, yeah,
yeah. So, bro, I appreciate you doing this again with me. I think what you got, like 30 hours left?
30 hours. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna check as soon as we rock. But yeah, no, absolutely. And no, man, it's a great. Anytime anybody reads the books, it's a great show because some people don't. Some readers don't read the books, which is crazy.
Hey man, look, I'm always happy to get my advanced copy. I mean, I kind of need it because if not, I'm gonna be asking you those silly ass questions that a lot of other podcasts say about what your
Yeah,
top 10
like how'd you get in the
superheroes are.
comics? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that type of shit. And I don't like talking like that.
yeah, nah, for sure.
Word.
Also, so you picked Decay number two, which is
Hmm.
which is fitting
Yeah.
considering. So.
Bro, look, I started with one before we got on, and I was reading two. I was like, how soon can I like get through this Cliff Notes
Yeah,
wise before we start? And then I started to
yeah,
pick up on things before, and no, I had just read Prescription Paradise this morning, so
hell yeah,
I literally had that on my phone, and I had Decay 1 and 2 while I was reading reading right here. I was like skimming right through it again.
hell yeah, man. Thank you, bro.
Not a problem, man. Well, Prescription Paradise, of course. In was it 2 more days? Well, shit, little less than 2 more days left in the campaign. I'm gonna say congratulations in advance because of course, you know what I'm saying, you pretty much about to hit that goal. So I'm be on the
Hell yeah.
lookout for that. And I know exactly what's coming up in the next couple was you said Exorcist Club 2, Tap or Die
Yep.
3,
No,
American
no, no.
Yakuza
Tabernacle
2.
already came out.
Oh shit, I'm sorry. Tap or Die 4, American Yakuza 2. See, look, it's even
It's a
hard for me to
sci-fi
get that.
book is next,
The
but
sci-fi books is there a name? Can I get the name?
it's my girlfriend is a cyborg assassin. Is the and I guess it's Blade Runner mixed with Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
You know what? You've been having a couple. You had a Jessica Rabbit already. I was like, I'm seeing where you're going with this.
There's a couple of Jessicas. Yeah,
Gotcha. All right, cool, man. All right, so I'll be on the lookout for that. All
hell
right,
yeah, bro.
my man. So I appreciate you doing this with me as always. Be on the lookout for the next project once it drops. Hopefully, I get like a round table once American Yakuza 2 comes out. I maybe get you, Chris, and Charlie in here at the same time. We just get a panel started.
Yeah, I'll mess. Yeah, nah, that'd be lit. That'd be lit for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But you got your copy, American Cruiser One, right?
I
Your
do.
digital copy. Okay,
Yep.
yeah, fast, fast, fast. Bet, bet,
Yep.
bet.
I'll be ready.
Hell, hell yeah,
All right, man. So for everybody out there, Prescription Paradise, #1, go get that on Kickstarter these last few days. If anything, you know, Anthony, of course, is going to put this up on his website pretty soon, and then you'll be able to get all these copies, especially even the past decays if you don't have those already. So
hell yeah.
for everybody here at the Facts Project, James Grandmaster Facts Boys, Anthony Stokes once again, and we are out.